It started as something practical, nothing unusual, nothing that felt like it would lead to anything worth remembering. The apartment itself was small. One bedroom, a narrow kitchen, and a living area that faced a window overlooking a quiet street. The kind of place where sound carried easily, where you could hear footsteps in the hallway, pipes shifting in the walls, doors closing in other units. Before we unveil this story, comment below where you are watching from. And if you enjoy it with the moment of joy, don't forget to subscribe. He had moved in just under a month earlier, and like most people living alone for the first time, he made small adjustments to feel more secure. One of those adjustments was a camera. Just a single indoor security camera placed in the corner of the living room, then positioned high enough to capture the front door, part of the hallway, and most of the main space. It wasn't installed because of fear, just routine, something people do without thinking too much about it. At first, it stayed exactly that. For the first couple of weeks, nothing happened. The camera worked as expected. It sent occasional notifications when he left for work, when he came back, when light shifted through the window in a way that triggered motion detection. Most of the footage was uneventful. Empty room, still air, silence. Sometimes he would check it briefly during the day, just to make sure everything looked normal, and it always did. There was nothing about the apartment that felt unusual. No strange neighbors, no unexplained sounds, nothing out of place. If anything, it felt predictable. The first alert came late, 2:13 a.m. He was asleep at the time, so he didn't see it until the next morning. A simple notification, motion detected. That, on its own, wasn't strange. Cameras misread things all the time. Shadows, light changes, small movements. He opened the app, watched the clip, and saw nothing. No movement, no person, no sound. Just the same empty room. Still, something about it felt slightly off. Not enough to worry about, just enough to notice. The next night, it happened again. 2:13 a.m. Another alert. This time he checked immediately. The footage loaded slowly, buffering for a moment before playing. Again, nothing obvious. But this time, there was a detail. A chair near the kitchen counter. It looked slightly out of place. Not dramatically moved. Just not exactly where it had been before. He paused the video, replayed it. There was no visible motion, no moment where the chair shifted. It simply appeared that way, like it had always been there. Over the next few nights, the alerts continued, always at the same time, 2:13 a.m. And each time, something small was different. A cabinet door left slightly open, a shadow where there hadn't been one before. The angle of the camera just barely shifted. Not enough to suggest it had been touched, but enough that the framing wasn't identical. At first, he assumed it was a technical issue, a glitch, maybe the camera recalibrating itself, maybe delayed uploads. That explanation held for a while, until he started comparing timestamps. The footage didn't line up. Clips appeared out of sequence. Moments seemed to be missing, or repeated. In one instance, the same 10-second segment appeared twice, but with a subtle difference. In one version, the room was completely still. In the other, the kitchen light flickered briefly. No transition, no explanation, just two versions of the same moment. This is where the feeling changed. Up until that point, it had been easy to dismiss, to categorize, to explain. But now, the question wasn't just what is happening. It became, can I trust what I'm seeing? He stopped watching the clips late at night, started checking them only during the day, with the lights on, with background noise, small things that made it feel less isolated. But the pattern didn't stop. One night, the notification came earlier than usual, 2:13 a.m. He was awake this time, lying in bed, her phone in his hand. He opened the app immediately. The live feed loaded. For a moment, everything looked normal. Then, the camera indicator light turned on. A small, barely noticeable glow. It wasn't supposed to activate during passive viewing, only when manually triggered. He hadn't touched anything. Climax. Quiet realization. He stayed still, watching the screen, waiting for something to happen. But nothing did. The room remained empty, silent, unchanged, except for one detail. The camera angle shifted. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just slightly, as if something had adjusted it, carefully, deliberately. The next morning, he checked the recordings again. The clip from that night was there, but shorter than expected, and missing the moment where the camera moved, as if that part had never been recorded, or had been removed. He stopped relying on the camera after that, left it installed, but rarely opened the app. The notifications still came, less frequently now, but always at night. Always at times he chose not to check. And occasionally, when passing through the living room, he would glance at the camera, just briefly, not long enough to study it, but long enough to feel that its position wasn't exactly the same as before.